Everybody, we're back. It's been a very long time since I've actually hosted a stream on my channel, but really happy to be back this week, casting week 2 of the current TMTL Premier League season. Deep Finesse and I on Mr. Fickle's channel got to cast a really fun game last week, and now we have week 2 of the Premier League. The game is just getting going. To set the table a little bit, this is FireX's first game of the season. He was on bye last week, and last week we had Eirik, who's on bye this week, won the game with Fruity finishing second, and I believe Red Rain finishing third. So with Eirik out, he's the defending champion and also won game 1 of the Premier League this year. So we're really hoping, or all the players will be really hoping to get a really good result this week to set themselves up to challenge Eirik when he returns for the final 3 games of the season. But so week 2 is kind of like a moving week. Week 2, week 3, I think, is when you position yourself to be able to challenge for the league title. So everyone's going to be looking for a good showing today. We have Fruity Harris is the home person today. So he selected all of the settings for this week's game. So as we can see, we are on Fire and Ice map, and we only have base factions. So no fan factions or Fire and Ice factions in this game, but we do have extra scoring on, which I find Fire and Ice map is actually one of the best maps for extra scoring, because the way the rivers go tend to give factions incentive to build along the diagonal. So it can be very interesting, particularly sometimes the northwest to the southeast diagonal can be really interesting to watch. So anyways, we have big building extra scoring, which means we're looking for distance between the sanctuary and the stronghold. You have to be connected and you have to build both of the buildings to be eligible for that scoring. It's probably the most common one for people to not score any points on, because if you don't build both buildings, then you're automatically disqualified. And we do actually have, interestingly, a couple factions in the game today who don't normally build both big buildings, particularly I'd say Darklings and Chaos don't often build their stronghold. So will these players decide to go a little bit against maybe the otherwise best options for those factions and build those buildings? One thing I didn't notice is, do we have landscapes? We do not have landscapes. Every time there's no fan factions, landscapes become at least an option, but they are not today. Let's see. So anyways, we have Nomads in seat 1, Witches in seat 2, Darklings seat 3, Chaos in seat 4. And the bidding has started on Witches, which makes sense. No neighbor Witches on this map are really strong. Witches in general on this map are really strong. If they build their stronghold early, they can fly around and save shipping until the end. A lot of the greens, this map is similar to Fjords in that a lot of the greens are multiple shipping away, but the Witch's Stronghold allows you to alleviate that and not need to spend a bunch of coins. Let's look at the scoring track. So no advice. Yeah, I'm not playing. You give all the advice you want. I wish I was playing. Actually, the quick story there is I had to ask Ghostly. So even though I finished second in the Premier League in the last TMTL season, only the person who wins and the people who win America and European divisions are the only ones who get automatic bids, and it's based on ELO. And both FireX and I submitted an ELO of 605, our highest in the past 30 days leading up to the submission. And so Haskey actually had to go in and find the ELO decimal points, and apparently FireX had the higher ELO by just a couple decimal points, and so he is in the Premier League, and I am your humble caster instead. So that's what happened there. But it's all for the good. I've been in the Premier League a couple times, and fun to see FireX get a chance to play. So let's see how he does. Anyways, the track on this one. So we've got a decent scoring track, I would say. TP's big building, spades, a couple dwellings. Finishing with temples is not the highest scoring for round 6, but those dwellings in round 4 and round 5 can can definitely produce some points. So definitely some incentive to build up in the first couple rounds and then try to spread out in rounds 3 to 5. Snake, you think CM's going to win? Red can definitely be very good on this map, and yellow on this map is not quite as nasty to them as it is on some of the other maps. So definitely a possibility. They're also the only culty faction here, and we do have some good early cult rewards, some pretty lame late cult rewards, but the first 3 rounds are really quite solid in terms of cult rewards and should be achievable, I think, by Chaos. But all the early bidding, obviously, on Witches and Darklings as the 2 no color neighbor factions. Darklings and Black in general is a bit challenged on this map. Definitely consider to compose. Wow, I can't talk. Definitely as opposed to base map is what I'm trying to say. Darklings in particular love to start on E3. And then it's really strong if they can get D6, C3, but they're not always able to do that. Especially if Witches acting ahead of them might take D6. So that's a big swing point, because otherwise then Darklings, they have to bridge to D6, which also often gets taken by Witches. And a lot of times you'll end up with an abandoned sanctuary on E3. Which is not really fun for anyone. But that's some of the challenges for Darklings. Obviously, they're still Darklings, very strong faction, so should do still quite well. As far as bonus tiles, Ghostly, great question. I think Chaos in seat 1 actually has an interesting choice here between Big Building and the Priest. Normally, you'd say, okay, Chaos, Big Building, build a Sanctuary round 1, really strong. But I think with the Big Building event in round 2, Chaos does have a little bit of incentive potentially to delay that Big Building by 1 round, particularly if they think they can get a Spade and get a Dwelling out in round 1. And then the Priest would be interesting because that would enable them to get this Air Cult reward. They'd either, if they don't take the Priest tile, they would have to take the Priest power action probably to get that cult reward, because you're not going to be able to get it just off the bonus tiles. So I think that's interesting. I assume that Darklings will take whichever one of those 2, Priest and Big Building, that the Chaos Magicians do not take. And that probably leaves Worker Power for Witches, and then Nomads probably just a coin tile. So that's a little bit disappointing for Nomads. And we'll see. I think we'll probably see some fairly standard openings, a lot of temples here across the board, except maybe Stronghold Witches. But Witches could also open with a temple and try to build a stronghold in round 2. They'll need to find some extra workers to do that, but I could definitely see them being interested in doing that regardless. Snake says most of these people are base jammers, and CS versus Nomads on base is 20 points worse for CM on Fire and I don't know about 20, but yeah, it's definitely not nearly as bad. As far as starting positions go, Nomads will almost certainly start on C5. The other ones are definitely more question marks. D4 Nomads, I think particularly with Black and Green in the game, is probably pretty likely. The third one is really going to be the interesting one. Like any of A4, I4, or H7 are probably possible. And they do have to place that third dwelling before Chaos. Like if Chaos was on G7, you'd probably want to go H7. But that's actually another interesting one for Chaos. So Chaos most likely will not start in the center. The D7 in the middle, very, very likely to get Pokeballed, surrounded, and have your game effectively over if you do. So their 2 options boil down to usually E2 or G7, and that will actually give us a little bit of an indication potentially into which pass tile they'll go for, because if they go on E2, they're a lot less likely to take the Priest and go for that Air Spade, because they won't be able to dig and build a dwelling in round 1, nor would they have anywhere to put that Cult Spade. So if they go on G7, on the other hand, particularly if Nomads are not on H7, then you could put a single Spade on one of those hexes, H7 or G8, and a Cult Spade on the other one. It'd be quite set up for a nice little sanctuary town quite quickly. I think personally that's probably the direction I would go if I were Chaos, particularly if you get Darklings on H8. I guess it would be a little tricky if you were going to have no neighbors. You probably wouldn't do that. Darklings will most likely start on E3, and then I like H8 for Darklings, particularly if you think you can lure chaos down there. Maybe you build the sanctuary on H8 instead of E3. You don't have to worry about having that sanctuary abandoned, not being a town. But I've also seen Darklings start with some success on D5. It's a little better if there's temp ship in the game, because this little stretch you dig B3 and you immediately get a couple more black hexes is really nice. But without temp ship, then you have to spend actually advanced shipping, and that's expensive, so that becomes less appealing. So I don't know. I personally probably plan to go H8 as Darklings here, but hard to know. Witches almost certainly will go E4, C4. The 2 center green hexes, that's pretty standard for them. Really, the only time you see deviation from that is if they're really worried about losing F3, which is this crucial center green hex early on. But that really only happens. It's really only under threat if you've got blue or gray in the game, neither of which are. So I think a round 1 or round 2 Stronghold will be able to fly there quite quickly. Sometimes you also see witches over here on D3, but sort of similarly, unless Nomads open Stronghold, this hex really isn't under any threat, and you can fly there and then get this D3 through C1 or B1 town as your second or third town later on in the game. Pulling back up to the bidding here, we now see witches are all the way down to 19, which I kind of agree with. If you go back in the annals of early days of Terra Mystica streaming, and there was a lot of games of Rainier playing witches on Fire and Ice, and he would play what he called big econ witches and just basically build the stronghold, build a temple, often for an econ favor too, and just try to build out everything as witches, get 3 towns. And I think a game plan somewhat like that could work, especially with the extra scoring in. For example, if you put, say, the stronghold on E4 and you can hold off on building your sanctuary and you build it way over here on like C1 or B1, that's a pretty good distance. Definitely gonna score some points. The only tricky part about that is sometimes witches will want their sanctuary on C4 because this town C4 to A5, A6 can so once in a while be a little bit tricky, but if they can either steal D6 or A7 before the respective other factions take those, then they can be okay. It's another argument for Darklings to start on H8, actually, is if they build their sanctuary down here on H8, then they can wait and build their stronghold up here on like C2, B3, A3, and that's a really nice sanctuary stronghold distance. That's even longer than what I was just talking about for the witches. And same with chaos, actually, by not, you don't put the sanctuary in E2, it gives you a little bit of room. Now, the northwest up here is not the most appealing location for chaos, but they can probably find a way to get up there. But I'm starting to agree, Snake, that I think at these points chaos is starting to look quite interesting. I do think it's quite a swing though on whether or not they can get that Darkling neighbor on H8. Because I really don't love chaos starting E2 here. Which if everyone else starts in the center feels like really your only option. So there's kind of a big swing there. I think the lack of temp ship in this game is really interesting and going to make it much more of a territory fight early on. Who's going to be willing to invest in that early shipping? None of these factions are factions that normally on this map really want to invest in early shipping. That may give witches that much more of an advantage if they build that early stronghold. Nomads at these prices really aren't that bad either. You assume they're gonna, they can probably get D7, build a nice town down here, town in the center. They often can build a town in the south, and then off of D4, like if they can just get E1 before the Darklings, and Darklings don't even have that much incentive to take E1. I think they're also in a pretty good spot. It's an interesting color matchup where this South Central continent, which is often very popular on this map, I have a feeling may only be a bit of a late game contest. The lack of brown and gray are usually the factions who really like to start down there, and we don't have either of them. Yeah, that's true, Ghostly. Chaos could start E2, bridge to G5, and then put a Cold Spade on H5. That could work. If there's no Darkling on H8, I guess that's probably what I would lean toward doing as them. Actually, one thing we haven't really talked about is who gets double dig here. You know, if the bonus tiles go how we were just talking about them, then we might be looking at witches being the only ones taking a power tile and thus have the early lean on double dig, and they're going to have a lot of neighbors too. So I wonder if we could see them try to double dig D7. I mean, they won't be able to do it on their first action. So nomads would potentially have the ability, if it swings back around to them, to take D7 with a single dig, and would have a lot of incentive to do so, I think. I think particularly with the extra scoring, and therefore which is ideally not wanting to build that sanctuary on C4, D7 for a center town, an early center town, would be really, really strong. Quite the long auction, though. I'm surprised no one's jumped at this point. I feel like, yes, Chaos, it could, I mean, as is often the case with Chaos, it could go quite badly. But I feel like the upside for Chaos at this point is actually pretty good. And all of these players should really be looking for an outright win today from a league perspective. Players are talking about how long the auction is and that they should have done fast auction, which I agree with. Kodum is thinking about it. Do we think he's going to do it? Patrick, I think we could go start a new game and do a fast auction, and it would be done before this one. Yeah, probably not at this point, but we definitely could have. What do you guys think? What's the most sort of non-standard thing that we think we're going to see in the first setup and round? It may all end up being quite normal. It's a pretty good game too in terms of there's not, I guess spades are a little tight without the spade tile, but you've got the first round bonus spade, and there's plenty of coins. The coins is often one of the things with these, when you have a round 2 big building event, you have a lot of factions. Oh, let's open temple and I can build my stronghold in round 2, and then they run into coin issues doing that. But we've got both big coin tiles this round, or in this game, and then obviously a couple coins actions. So most factions might be able to actually do it. Because I think, like, in an ideal world for everyone, you've got Nomads building Stronghold round 2, Witches building Stronghold round 2, Darklings and Chaos both building Sanctuary round 2. All right, so we do have a game now. It was Fruity, my man, jumping over to Chaos Magicians. at 40 points, which is all the way down with 15 for Fire X, Darklings, Red Ram for 20, and Totems on Nomads at 24. I think I like Chaos's deal here. All the other ones I just think are a little low, and sort of even, I mean, relative to everyone other than Chaos, I like Witch's deal. I think Witch's only 5 points from Darklings and 9 points from Nomads feels like a good deal. So if Chaos kind of crashes and burns, then Witches could be in a really good position. We do get Darklings starting on H8. So this opens the door for the G7 Chaos start, which I'm really interested to see if it happens. Witches snap placed their first going on E4, but are now hesitating. This is super interesting. I would have thought C4 would be pretty straightforward here. I wonder what else FireX is contemplating. No, he goes with C4 anyways. Okay. Yeah, Snake, I do agree with that. I mean, maybe he just doesn't build a big building in round 2 at all. The one advantage in big building distance scoring games overall of waiting to build your big buildings, if you sort of wait until round 5 and 6 to build them, is you have much more control over where you're going to place in that distance scoring. Because the issue with building them early is sometimes people lock themselves into to something too early. Oh wow, okay, so we do get Nomads H7. So this is a little detrimental to the Chaos G7 idea. But maybe Chaos now just starts Sanctuary and puts the Cult Spade on G8. If they take Priest. Or they just don't go with the Cult Spade and just say, try to single spade. Either way. I mean, at this point, G7 is still really nice here because you've got the neighbors. But I guess the E2 bridge G5 is also fairly okay. I think I personally would go with G7 here. I guess F4 is an option too. If you think you could get double dick. That would probably be a round 2 double dig. Fruity's having to think about it. G7 it is. I like that. I do think having all 3 of these factions down here in the south is potentially quite a bad development for Witches. I don't think that Nomads are going to upgrade H7. But if they did, and Witches are entirely left out of the Leech Party, that could be quite bad. Now, Chaos does go with the big building tile out the gate. So this probably means he's going to open Sanctuary. And so maybe he's thinking he's just going to get the Priest power action and send it to air and just not take a spade in round 1. That's probably good news for Nomads because Nomads probably then get single spade, whereas they might have been locked out of spades altogether, if not. Oh, man. Nomads upgrade H7. Oh, FireX. I'm so sorry, my man. This is gonna be painful for your leash situation, I think. Yeah, I mean, if Witches don't get any power, okay, so Witches pull the plug. Maybe he recognizes he's not getting any power here, pulls the plug and takes the Priest. I assume this is for a ship upgrade. Well, maybe not, though, with the round 1 air reward. I was going to say I thought it would be for a ship upgrade to build 2 dwellings on A6 and G6. Now double dig is like wide open. I mean, nomads might get it at this point. This is really interesting. I'm curious to see what witches do with this priest, first of all. Darklings also now look like they're in great position to be able to actually dig through D6 and C3. He's going to upgrade for Leech right now, but he can now build Temple 2 dwellings. He just needs the workers action, which no one else really wants. I have to think that Chaos wanted that priest to send to air. But maybe is there a world where Chaos can sneak workers and single dig here? Or maybe they just take double dig. Yeah, I agree, Snake. This is good for Darklings. Very good for Darklings. They're going to get the Sanctuary down in the south. They're getting a lot of Leech, and they're probably going to get the D6 C3 stretch. This is really, really good. Their only thing now that they need to think about relatively quickly is connection. Because F4 actually looks pretty appealing for Chaos right now. And if Darklings lose both F4 and G6, then all of a sudden their connection's really tenuous. So Nomads build a temple and they take Earth 2. Which is interesting in this game. I feel like they're going to want for coins more than workers, but maybe they're angling for a big building in round 2 and they feel like they need the extra worker. So Chaos was 1 power short of taking double dig. So they are forced to upgrade and Nomads get it. And FireX just wrote in the chat, feels like good game already. And not toward a winner, but I think for him, he is unfortunately probably right. I think witches are pretty screwed. And Darkling's got the workers too. So have to imagine they're going to dig D6 right here. Because witches do actually have enough now for single dig. They did send the priest to air. So they might still get single dig. I guess priest to air on priest to air for a cult spade and then dig E5 with the cult spade on F5 isn't terrible. Could definitely be worse. If they can manage a stronghold in round 2, they might be able to pull back here because they missed out on this early leech party, but they're now going to get a ton of leech in this like secondary leech party where nomads and darklings are building all around them. So obviously you'd rather have it at the beginning, but having it, late round 1, early round 2 is still okay. Like he's going to get he's going to get single spade this round now, it looks like, and probably another good power action next round. So could be worse. Who got coins? Chaos took coins. Okay, makes sense. They needed a couple more coins for the Sanctuary anyways. So this doesn't look quite as nice for Chaos as it might have, because they're going to build this Sanctuary, which is nice. Obviously, you're going to have lots of income, but they didn't get the cult reward, and they're building they're basically even on building the Sanctuary now versus next round in terms of points. And we've got Earth 2 also for Darklings. Interesting. I guess everyone's banking on getting some coins for next round. I guess the nice thing for Darklings with this extra worker is they can build if they get enough coins, they can now build a dwelling next round in addition to the Sanctuary. But I don't remember who it was that I first heard say this. It might have been NerdCube. But like when you take an econ favor in round 1, you really want to be using those resources in round 2. That's sort of the value and where the snowball comes from. And so in the case of Darklings here, he needs to have enough coins to be able to use that extra worker to build a dwelling in round 2 to really make that Earth 2 worth it. It looks like he's going to be able to. But it's interesting because if he had taken coins, like he definitely would be using those toward that Sanctuary. But I guess, again, if he has enough anyways. So going back and forth here on C3 versus I7, I don't think it makes a huge difference. I think he's going to get both of them without much issue. Which is built a stronghold, by the way. So maybe in response to the lack of leech, decides to go with the maybe more economic building, even though it means building it off track from a points perspective. Builds a sanctuary and stronghold and builds a dwelling over on C3. I guess maybe if he's worried about nomads building a stronghold next round, D3 could have been lost before he had the opportunity to build a stronghold and catch it. So that could be a piece of it too. He still doesn't have to take single dig here, which I think I would assume he's going to do. He's also going to get to put this cult spade on D2 now. So this is a decent recovery from witches. He skips the single spade, I guess. Yes, to take the big building tile. That's nice. And maybe he can get double dig next round. No, I have to imagine Chaos are going to take double dig. Which part doesn't make sense, Snake? If you take an econ favor, you need to use it round 2. I mean, it's more about just need is probably too strong, but I think the point is if you want to optimize it, you should really be. If you just sit on it for a round, then it's not as helpful. I guess you're right. If the point option is to take a scoring favor, but I think maybe more it's about like choosing between econ favors, right? Choose the one that's going to enable you to do something right away. So Nomads went with coins. They do have exactly 6 workers, so they could go for a stronghold here if they want to. I don't exactly know where they would do that. But in a game where you almost certainly want to build it at some point because of the Sanctuary Stronghold distance scoring, there's more incentive to go ahead and build it now. But he only has 6 workers, which means that even if he builds it, he then is lacking a worker to use with the Sandstorm. Now, maybe that's okay. Could Sandstorm like D5 or E1 and just let it sit. But no, he goes with the Sanctuary instead, which someone was saying earlier they liked as a better option. So anyways, I think after all this round 1, which was pretty event filled, I think I personally like Darkling's position the best. He's going to build Sanctuary for a scoring favor right now. Probably Earth 1. As long as he can continue to find enough coins throughout the game. Actually, maybe not Earth 1 because he just did a dig and build on I7. And you'd think if he was going to build Earth 1, he would have waited. So maybe he's just going to go Water 1? Yeah, that's the one thing for Darklings is they need to make sure that they connect. But we did see, so Fruity elected to single dig G8 instead of double dig F4, which means he may be looking at like a G8 bridge to H9 town and not bother building F4, which it would be very nice for Darklings, probably gives him much more time to secure that connection. And Darklings go double econ. So there's the fire one that I was talking about last round. Which this is probably an okay game to go double econ. Decent scoring in the back half of the game, and obviously the distance scoring. I guess that's one argument for the workers if you're going to build a stronghold as Darklings, you George. If you're going to build a stronghold as Darklings, you do need a lot of extra workers, not only to build the stronghold, but to effectively use it to convert to priests. So that's a good argument for that. And then obviously now the fire one to make up some coins. Definitely assume we'll be seeing another temple from him pretty quickly here. But he could probably do that next round. And now Chaos did take double dig. To get F4. So now he is set up nicely. So Darklings here are starting to feel a little bit of this connection crunch that we were talking about. Witches have not used, no, they have used their flight this round. I guess he just used it on E5. But Darklings would need to upship and find another spade or another priest to take D6 to take G6 before Witches snap it. So if Witches wanted, it's not a full denial of connection to Darklings. There's a couple other options, H6 and some more circuitous ones. But if they don't get G6, it becomes quite complicated. This is a nice early pass for Darklings. Passes on to ship scoring. We'll get the coins action and presumably advance his ship. The question is just whether G6 will still be there or not. Well, it was well done by Fruity, by the way. When he took single dig, and at the time, Witches did not have enough to take double dig, and then it was able to circle back to Chaos, and he was able to get double dig as well. So this is actually pretty nice for Fruity all of a sudden, and he's able to pass on the Priest here. So he's going to be able to advance 2 shipping this round. If he can do that and secure E2 and G5 and maybe B5, and maybe even a town, he actually has enough workers to do all of that. I don't know if he even has enough coins, but he has enough workers to do all of that. I mean, Chaos is starting to explode a little bit. I guess he kind of wants to wait a little bit for some of the dwellings, maybe till round 4. None of them are really under a ton of threat, besides maybe B5 if Nomads want connection. But that's probably also the least important one for Chaos. So going full econ for all factions, just like in general, or you think they all should have been going full econ this game? Because we did see Witches and Nomads and Chaos all take Earth 1. So maybe there's another ding on Darklings, as they did miss out on Earth 1 as punishment for their double econ opening. Now, of course, they can just build a nice temple for Water 1 and still score plenty of points, although there's no TP scoring event this game. So my height on Darklings at the beginning of round 2 has come down a little bit. Still pretty good, although a lot hinges on G6. And I've come back up on Chaos's position. But it remains to be seen how many of their red hexes get stolen. If it's not too many, I think they're in a really good position. Oh, interesting. So Chaos went first priest to water instead of using that for a ship upgrade, which means he will not be getting, unless he takes another priest or maybe a ship town. I guess he could. More likely a priest power action to try to grab E2 or G5. The Darklings also want a priest power action, although I don't know how much leech they're going to get. So ideal round for the Darklings here is advance ship and build double dig G6, or advance ship twice and dig H6. Either one is fine and secures their connection, but they need another priest to do that. You are right that the Sanctuary Stronghold distance is going to be quite competitive. It's actually fascinating with this triangle of sanctuaries that we've got down here in the southeast. All 3 of these factions are going to be trying to push up toward the northwest and see how far up there they can get their stronghold. Nomads are in the best position, obviously, given D4, although they do need to figure out their connection. Followed by Darklings, who are headed there, and then Chaos are the furthest away, at least, and have the least prospects for good positioning up there, but we'll see what they can do. Nomads did just take B5, so that's a little painful for Chaos, as all red factions just hate losing native hexes. Well, all red base factions hate losing native hexes. I do wonder, actually, if Chaos is going to come to regret not going for 2 shipping right away, because Nomads now have 2 shipping, and next round could steal E2 also before Chaos has the opportunity to advance ship and get there. Unless Chaos can take another priest this round, which maybe they can. But if they don't do that, I mean, Nomads absolutely want E2. So Witches just built on F3 with their flight. So the door is open here for Darklings. They don't have enough resources to take the priest action and double dig G6, but they do have the ability, if they wanted, depending on how worried they are about it, they could bridge to G6 and just straight double dig it. Which, if I were Darklings right now, I would be considering pretty heavily. But I guess with which is not taking G6, it does mean that at least at the beginning of next round, H6 will probably be there. Yeah, so he just goes with a temple. Wow, he's gonna gamble. All right. I guess witches really aren't in a position to be trying to block people, to be fair. So maybe H6 sits. Nomads also really want I5, so H6 is just for connection. You're probably not getting I5 either as Darklings. See, I'm losing the E2 to Nomads. Yeah, I kind of think that's going to happen too, and that really is going to box him in. Okay, he did just take another priest. So have to imagine he's looking at 2 ship upgrades here. So the question is, do Nomads care enough to hard dig E2 this round? Because that's, I think, what they would have to do. I think Fruity sees that Nomads are interested in E2, and if he doesn't take it this round, he's probably going to lose it. I mean, Nomads do have a surplus of workers, so a hard dig wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world. Oh, he's out of dwellings. Okay, never mind. Well, I guess he could hard dig it and not build, but CMs could just dig it back. So I think most likely here, CMs are going to find their way to E2 after all. Yeah, it does put the Nomads in a tricky spot here with H7. I have to think that their plan would be to try to dig all the way along the bottom. They want I5 anyways. So they need to get I4 and I3 before Chaos can circle all the way around. Nomads at least have this influx of coins coming here from the cult reward. So I was going to say their economy is quite imbalanced right now, even with that last TP that he just threw up. But those cult coins are going to save him a little bit. Darklings are really gambling a bit here too, also with D5. Not that anyone really wants it, but he needs that for a town, given that he's built his sanctuary down in the south. So he's got a couple things floating right now that, if he gets them all, is in a really strong position. The question is, at what point do the other players feel like they can block him off? Now with E2 looking like it's gonna hold, I'm back to liking CM's position again. This is the game with CM, right? It's like, oh, if things go, people are nice and they don't take your things, all of a sudden your game looks amazing, and then one thing goes away, and all of a sudden your game is in shambles, right? Like, but getting this town here, the two key town, he's now basically locked up 2 cults already and is in second place on 2 other ones, and is about to explode for a bunch of dwellings, right? With just a couple spades, he's got his full complement of dwellings. He's going to build 1 this round. Ah, okay. So there's a good move by Darklings. I like that. Advances his ship and throws a single dig on G6, which basically secures it for him next round because uh, witches do not have advanced shipping, and so now cannot fly to G6. So I like that move a lot. It's very smart. And Chaos has up ship to 2 and is going to build 1 dwelling. And wow, look at this. Look at this for Chaos. The ship scoring tile has fallen into their lap the round after they advance ship to 2, and next round probably will go up to 3. That's just beautiful. All right, grab Z2. Nomads only have 2 shipping, so they can't reach G5 right now. So is Chaos going to wait to build more dwellings? Or is he going to build them? The general rule of thumb is go ahead and build the dwellings, but we'll see. So Nomad's position here is really starting to look tough. There's just so many things that they still need to do, right? They need to connect all the way along the bottom here. They need to build a stronghold. They need to finish their towns. Their economy's pretty good, but man, there's just a lot, and they're kind of all over the place. Witches have recovered okay. They're in a bit of an awkward position having taken F5 now because they don't want that to be a sanctuary town. Although it'd be interesting to see if they even care because I think right now they're clearly set up to build their sanctuary on D3. And I don't think that's going to score any sanctuary stronghold distance points. That would be only a distance of what, 6? I think that's gonna be worth zilch. So maybe they decide they don't care and say, well, 0-0, and I'll just build it on E5 so I don't have to do an awkward bridge town over to D9. I guess it's not that bad, D9 and a bridge, but it just feels suboptimal. They need to grab A6 to connect that one. They're also kind of, witches are waiting on ideally Darklings to come over to C2, but they also can't wait too long because if Nomads at any point build their stronghold, then they can cut through C1. So anyways, I think Darklings and CM are a clear 1-2 right now, and it's a decent gap to Nomads and Witches. Who's winning between those respective pairings, I think is TBD. I think I'd put Chaos in the lead right now. Because the cult position is what's swinging it. I guess Darklings still have multiple towns to come, and Chaos might be lucky to find one more town, but 24 cult points versus like 8 is also pretty good. Just roughly where this is trending. All right, so we had a bit of a mini water one rush there. Darklings obviously had taken it a while ago. Nomads went ahead and grabbed theirs, and then Witches go ahead and build their sanctuary. So they've locked into that 6 distance. Also means they will need a bridge for this town on D9. And that, I feel, is not going to be very good for their final score all around. So Nomads have recognized their need for I5. No surprise. Interestingly, just did a single dig as opposed to single dig hard dig. Darklings do get D5 before anyone messes with that, so they've at least got their second town spot. It'll be interesting to see if Darklings can find a third town this game. It would probably be in the far northwest if they can, but they'll need all 4 of those hexes, C2, A2, A3, B3, and a bridge. A second bridge, though they would need 2 out of the last 3 bridges, and witches also need a bridge. So there could be some bridge pressure in rounds 5 and 6 in this game. And oof, okay. That is very painful for nomads. Chaos just took G2, which means they're going to beat nomads to I3. They also took the natural yellow G2, and at this point, the sanctuary for nomads is almost certainly disconnected, which, to be frank, probably means they're going to finish in last place. Not scoring any points on network scoring or the extra Fire and Ice scoring, which is now likely. I just don't see how they recover from that. They don't have enough strength going on elsewhere. Darklings could triple dig H5 next round if Chaos don't take it. That is true. They could do that. That's a good point, and I actually don't know if Chaos is going to take that. I mean, they're not going to take it this round. Have to imagine Chaos is going to take the workers action and try to build 3 more dwellings. G2 dig seems good for Chaos Sanctuary Stronghold. Yeah, potentially they could try to go to like D1, which would be quite good. A D1 sanctuary, as an example, would tie a Darkling Sanctuary on C2 potentially, or sorry, a Stronghold. That could work pretty good. But Chaos is really racking up the points right now. He's getting 4 points for all of these dwellings, and he's about to pass for 9. I think he's going to get this workers action because I don't think anyone else is going to take it. Yeah, you just throw up the stronghold and win. I mean, I agree. I think Chaos are in the lead. If they didn't have this points lead, it might be closer between them and Darklings because Darklings still have 2, potentially 3 towns coming. Chaos are missing water 1, so that's 1 negative for them. So outside of these dwellings, their scoring might be a little bit limited, but they also have these cult points and can build potentially like 2 temples for a bunch of 3-step favors in round 6 for a lot of points too. So yeah, Chaos is probably going to finish with 24, maybe even 28 cult points in this game, which is going to be really strong. I feel like Chaos has to take workers here to build more dwellings, right? Also will allow him to get a pass tile. Yeah. Because now Darklings have to pass. Chaos doesn't even have to actually build these dwellings. If Darklings pass, whenever Darklings pass right in front of them, Chaos should just pass and snap that dwelling dial. This is beautiful. This is going to be another coins action for Darklings, and they pass on to 6 coins. So there's no shortage of resources here. For Darklings, we might be seeing them get into 15 or 16 structures, probably win network. So they're definitely not out of this thing by any means. If they can find 3 towns, win network, get tied first, for example, on distance scoring, and just score a lot of points for digging because they're Darklings, that's also going to be pretty good. Although missing a scoring tile for round 5 here is a little painful for them. Probably means they're in a good position to get one for round 6, but still. Who won game 1? Eirik. Eirik, who is not playing today, won game 1 after winning the Premier League last season. So he's in the driver's seat. But Fruity won. Fruity got second in game 1. So if he wins today, he will have 9 points for the season. Take the lead in the standings. Obviously, Eirik has a game at hand, but be very in a good competitive position. So we talked about witches for a little bit here. As we said, we built that stronghold. One thing that's, I guess, nice for them is this nomads almost certainly now being disconnected means that sanctuary stronghold distance of 6 is going to be worth some points. It's going to be worth 6 points, not 0 after all. Now that would have been true, I guess. Well, actually, maybe not. If he built it on F5, nomads could have done build a stronghold in I4 or something. So that's good for witches. But witches they're just way too far behind right now, and they only have 30 points. Even if he manages to find 3 towns, he's well positioned for 2. I don't know if he's going to find 3, but even if he finds 3, and I mean he has these scoring favors, but has coin problems, and I just don't see it happening for witches. Nomads have found some points at least. They took a town, continued to build out some dwellings, so have a decent economy. But again, this disconnection and lack of endgame points is just going to sink their game. I guess there's a world maybe where with the stronghold they could get H4 and then sandblast either G3 or I guess it would have to be G3 or G4 to connect. If no one else takes those, which no one else wants really badly, maybe the witches. I guess it's one of those things where it would actually be worth it if they could do it. Build a stronghold on B2, and it's not impossible. Would also save them a bridge potentially. Get a southern town. They'd only finish with 2 towns. But if they can get themselves back in the sanctuary stronghold and the network scoring conversations, they're maybe not competitive for the game overall, but at least competitive for not last. Which again, it's a season, so every positioning matters. That's probably what I would be looking at right now if I were Nomads. Try to salvage something. Fickle stats are winning game 2 gives you a 75% chance to win the season. I'd like to see the historicals on that. I'm skeptical. Maybe it's true. I know the season that I won, I did not win game 2. because I had to win the last 2 games. But that doesn't mean that not everyone else did it. Someone just said something in the chat about G2. Fruity said, "Oh, that was an error." I don't know what he was talking about. But then Kodum said, "It's big of an error forgetting about G2." The answer to that is definitely not. But I don't know what error he was talking about. All right, so Darklings have pushed into the northwest. They have not taken H6, so I don't think they're going to be following chat's suggestion here of potentially triple digging H5 and trying to build out a town down there. They are instead taking B3 and will probably be going for this northwest town. Now, he might need a triple dig up there anyways, because his big problem is that he needs 2 bridges and there's only 2 rounds left. That is not normally a position that you want to be in. Not to mention that I have a feeling he's going to open with the coins action anyways, because, well, maybe not. I guess he's got a lot of coins. Let's see what he does. See if he opens with the bridge. Yeah, he does. Okay. So there's 1 bridge down, so now he needs to try to get the one in the last round. Chaos takes I3, no big surprise there. Although at this point, I3 isn't even that good for Nomads. They would need like 2 more hexes to connect off of it. They're better off trying to blast north if they want to try to connect. Nomads did get onto ship scoring, which is quite nice. And big building scoring is empty, and everyone wants to build big buildings. So someone is probably going to pull the plug and pass early here. My guess is it might be Chaos, because basically all Chaos wants to do right now is build 3 more dwellings. And then he's more than happy to pass. So I think if I'm Nomads, this is the stronghold. This is the round where you build the stronghold. So he just took coins. He's got plenty of coins. I think you go ahead and you build this stronghold. And you try to blast through. Now, he's not going to have enough for a stronghold and a hard dig, unless he wants to use priests for workers. So he probably just uses the sandstorm on H4 this round and then hopes that one of those hexes holds for next round. Or I guess worst case next round, he'd go like H3, E1. Yeah, I think you're right now, Snake. It's looks like it. FireX just noted about taking G6, which is really interesting because we were talking about that a lot before Darklings took it. Whether he would block it would have been made Darkling's life much trickier. Darklings are like a little low on points. They're 26 behind Chaos right now. Some of that obviously is left over from the auction. They started 20 points behind. Still look like they're angling for 3 towns. But the missing Earth one is definitely starting to hurt them a little bit. Now, I don't know if they'd be where they were if they hadn't gone double econ. Oh, that's a spicy dig. All right. Darklings are just said, I don't want to have to build another bridge. So I went ahead and double dug A4. Now, Darklings really want to build the sanctuary on at least C2 or A2. Right now, this sets up like it kind of looks like they might want to build it on A4. They really don't want to do that because they will lose Sanctuary Stronghold distance to both Chaos and Nomads if they don't build it on at least A2 or C2 now, it looks like, which would be quite painful. You think if Witches had taken G6, Darklings would have just beelined for H6? I guess that's probably right. Darklings can even go A1. Yeah, they might be forfeiting a town if they do it that way. We'll see. I guess they're going to have so many priests that they can just triple dig B4. Yeah, I mean A1 is A1's actually a huge swing. Because A1 takes it from a three-way tie. A2 is a three-way tie. Whereas A1 Darklings win it outright, and Chaos and Nomads tie. And Darklings might need that swing. I mean, that's a 9-point swing versus Chaos. That's pretty valuable. So if I'm Darklings, I would really like to do that if I can. It'll be interesting. I mean, Darklings are clearly setting up for. Well, maybe not. I was about to say he's clearly setting up for Fire 2. Have to still think that's the plan. But he did go ahead and build one 7-power town here in the middle now. All right, we're starting to see some towns come in. So Darklings just built a town. Witches just built a town. Cults are starting to track a little bit closer. Darklings say priest for a priest on the water cult. It's better than a town. Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think if you're Darklings, you're trying to get both. I just don't know. I don't know if he has enough. Because he could build, I guess he can build another TP. He's a pretty short of building the dwelling on A1 this round. All right, so there's the stronghold for H4 for the Nomad. So he's setting himself up to be able to connect. I don't think witches are going to be blocking both of these hexes. They could, but I'd be surprised. I mean, honestly, if you're witches, it might actually be worth it for you. But I don't know if he has the resources. We need single dig and a hard dig and a TP. No, he just passed. So witches claim this early big building tile. Now we're going to get a stall war because there's no tiles free. Chaos do not have any dwellings left, so they've got TP dwelling. They've only got 2 actions left. Darklings have more. Nomads, I think, also have more. So Chaos are going to miss a tile in the last round. That's unfortunate for them. Sam's want G3. Yeah, if they're going for another town. Yeah, and they have to hope that Darklings don't bridge block them. I mean, Darklings can make their town up here without a bridge, but they also can make it with a bridge. Which, to block Chaos from a town, they might find worth doing. Be very interesting to see what witches do in this last round. He's built his towns. You know, he needs to connect. But what's he doing besides that? I don't know. I don't know. I guess just continuing to try to build stuff. I mean, he'd love to find another town. He actually has a lot of resources. 16 workers. But he doesn't have enough to like advance his digs and dig 3 dwellings and build a town. Like that's not happening. So I don't know what he's doing. It's probably just build temples and TPs. Just build as much as he can. Feels like it's a little short, probably. Chaos here is having a connection problem. But besides that, it's going to get his stronghold down next round. He's going to build. He's going to pass for. Yeah, the question is whether. The real question with Chaos, I think, is whether or not he gets the town or not. But I don't even know if he needs it. He doesn't have water 1, so the TPs aren't that valuable. Like, he honestly might just be better off building, 2 or 3 temples. I mean, there's the network. I guess there's the network consideration. But he's only got 1 more free red after this. And he's not going to really have a good way. Like, the spades are going to be very expensive in terms of the opportunity cost. I guess he would need to dig G3 if he wants that as part of the town. But he will have that stronghold button to generate some chaos. Always fun. No chaos portal, though, sadly. Chaos is going to miss a pass tile. Chaos is going to miss a pass tile, and Darklings are going to get one. So that's a big swing toward Darklings here at the end of the game. And I do think Darklings are going to have the flexibility to build the stronghold on A1. And that honestly could be the difference in this game. Chaos might have enough anyways because of their cult position, which is really strong. Darklings is not very strong. Oh, look at that. Chaos had just enough. I didn't even notice that for a sneaky priest power action. Now, Darklings are still going to get a pass tile because Nomads pass ahead of them. And so Darklings will get Nomads pass tile, which is not nearly as good for them, though, because they don't even really want 3 shipping. They really only want 2. But that's a nice pull from Fruity. Although it does cost him a little bit of coins in the form of power income. This is why F&I is the best map. I love Fire and Ice. Great caster, thank you. Definitely more the game than me. How's the quality of this stream, by the way? I'm on a new platform because I haven't streamed in months and my old one didn't work anymore. Is it like okay? I have no idea. Had to set this up at the last minute. I was like, oh my god, it doesn't work anymore. Wow. Oh, I guess it doesn't matter, does it? Well, no, not wow. This is a big deal because Darklings just let Chaos have a pass tile for the last round. Now they still get one themselves. I guess they get one that they prefer, but man, that's basically 9 free points for Chaos Magicians. That's interesting. No quality issues? That's good. That's good. Maybe I'll try to do some streams again. I don't really have a lot of time for live games is the problem, but we'll see. Man, I'm really intrigued by that dwelling build from. I mean, maybe 6 coins is like almost as good for Chaos. No, there's no way it's almost as good. It's not 9 points different, but man, that's fascinating. Darklings went ahead and built that dwelling, which doesn't even produce, by the way. I guess it was a dwelling round, so a couple points. But in order, which gave Chaos ship scoring and themselves dwelling scoring instead. It's hard to do the math on that because, I mean, 6 coins are still really valuable for Chaos, especially if they're trying to get in their town. Like now he's probably only building 2 temples instead of 3. The 3rd temple itself is probably not that valuable beyond the direct points. I don't know. This has to be better for Chaos, but maybe it's not that much better. All right, so this is going to be what? Water 2 or air 1, air 3, maybe? Water 2, air 3? Water 2, air 1? It's actually got some choices. Round 6 temple events are always fascinating for the cult fighting. Yeah, air 3, air 1. Which basically secures him air now because if witches try to go up, then he can just throw a priest there. So that's pretty solid. So yeah, now we're looking at potentially 26 or 28 cult points for Chaos, which is very good. Feels like even if Darklings build this stronghold on A1 that Chaos pull this out. I mean, Darklings have 2 more towns coming and then the Sanctuary stronghold distance scoring and the network. But if they win by 9 on Sanctuary stronghold distance and maybe, man, even if it were 18 on network, right? Let's give them the full benefit. That's 27 to Darklings, but minus what for? How many cult points is he gonna get? Like maybe 6, right? Versus 26 calls, so 20. So it's only a net of like 7 points to Darklings on the end game scoring, something like that. Even if it goes all the way and Chaos gets no network points. So then the two towns here have to make up 19. That's about what you would expect. So then it comes down to like what they build. So maybe it's pretty close, actually. Maybe it's pretty close. That's the ballpark math. So witches, what did witches do to start? Oh, nothing. This is their first action. Right. No, they did something else. Took coins, probably, right? Yeah, coins. Took coins. Now they built a temple for Air 1. Just going to build some TPs. Try to build as much as they can. We might see. Yeah, no, never mind. I was going to say we might see dig advances from witches, but we won't because he needs the priest for shipping. So there's Chaos Stronghold, which we knew we had to have. Locks in a distance of 10. And as we said, Nomads are also at 10. Nomads did blast through to G3. So do salvage that connection after all of our consternation about not getting it. In the end, it wasn't even so bad for them getting it, honestly. I mean, I guess digging I5 was a little gross, but they kind of wanted that hex anyways. Now, obviously, them, if they get E2, Chaos is, world of hurt compared to where they finished. But in the end, maybe it wasn't so bad for Nomads. I think Nomad's bigger problem was just they were kind of on, as they often are on this map, they're kind of on the outskirts. Leech was a tiny bit limited. Couldn't find space for a third town. Just kind of fell behind very slowly but surely. And then had to do, not that this was easy, right? Connecting, like it was still resource intensive, even if in the end it wasn't so bad because they got a town out of it. Right, but like for example, if they had E2 instead and they had an earlier town with the sanctuary on a bridge, maybe they are able to find another town in the north. That also kicks witches back down to no sanctuary stronghold points, as we were saying for a while. So that's unfortunate for them. Could be a big swing, actually, potentially, if Nomads are able to pull third here versus witches. Could be the difference in a key point in the standings. Colt Town for Nomads, so they do lock down Earth. And a couple key steps relative to Darklings on water and air. Darklings don't love sending Priest to Cults at the end of the game. They'd kind of rather dig. I guess it depends if they need the spades. They don't. These Darklings don't really need the spades, so maybe it doesn't matter. So maybe they'll send Priest to Cults after all. So let's see. Darklings got to open up a dwelling, right? So they build A4 TP, then they probably got to build dwelling. So they're starting to get a little tight here on if they want to do this thing on A1. Because the structure by itself is 7. So they're not really going to have leftover workers to use the power of the stronghold if they want to go on A1. They could, of course, just do it on C2 instead and settle for the 3-way tie. And then they'd have a couple more. Well, not even really. It's only one extra worker to build the dwelling. And they need another ship advance. So their cults are a little... Or cults, their coins are a little tight. They do have a town left. So it could potentially take... I guess it would probably be a ship town. It's too bad. They'd really rather have a coin town. Goes with the bridge, which I think is a recognition that he's not going to be able to build a dwelling on B4. But also painful because that bridge is effectively 3 coins. I still feel like he's going to find a way to build this on A1. Oh, Fruity had auto leech on. Oof. Spending some points. How many times did he do it? Maybe just the one time. If he loses by 1 point, you can blame auto leech. I hate auto leech. I almost never use it, even in turn-based games. I know people don't like that, but I've seen too many times where you pass and you just give up points. As long as you're reasonably diligent about not letting games sit. If the system was smart enough to know, like, basically don't take leech, don't pay for leech if you're overproducing or if it's going to cause you to overproduce, then I would be much more likely to do it. Good job, Patrick. You and I are on the same page. Improve the product, right? Then I'll do what you want me to do. So Chaos did go ahead and secure air, and also, oh, they built another temple. Take water 3, water 2, earth 3, water 2. So yeah, Chaos are gonna finish with 28 cult points, which is really nice. So I think, and let's see, the networks, it does look like Chaos is not going to get any network points. Because Darklings are getting their 14th structure here. He is going for A1. Oh man, that's a little... Why did Darklings not build that dwelling? This is really interesting. Darklings dug A1, but didn't build a dwelling. And Nomads, all Nomads really want to do is build one more dwelling. Oh, I guess he can build a temple. That's fair. I was going to say, Nomads could have hard dug A1. I guess Darklings have more priests, so maybe it doesn't matter. Yeah, never mind. It doesn't matter, because Darklings have more priests. So anyways, Darklings, they are a couple coins short. I mean, they can send priest to cult, pick up a couple more. I guess he's stalling, trying to get leech. I don't think he's going to get any. Oh, so this is a little interesting. So we see that Chaos is sitting at 9, probably very intentionally on both fire and water, because he only has one more key. So he actually can't close both those cults. And there is both a spot on fire and those are the two colts with the 3 steps left. So someone really he's basically trying to wait and see if someone tries to chase him down before he commits that last priest. Oh, so Darklings did not build the sanctuary. Or, sorry, the stronghold on A1 after all. All right, I think this almost certainly secures the game for Chaos. I think they had it anyways. But it's now a 3-way tie for Sanctuary Stronghold distance. And there's no way Darklings have enough endgame points to overcome this Chaos cult position. So I guess he calculated maybe that he didn't have enough to build it all the way on A1. Or maybe in doing so gave up dwelling, gave up priests that he wanted to dig with. Wants to build another dwelling. I mean, another dwelling is actually really, really important for Darklings. Well, no, he would have built the dwelling on A1 anyways. Another dwelling is really important for Darklings because it will get him into a 3-way tie for network. Or I guess it'll be a 2-way tie between him and Nomads because Witches will get another dwelling down and win network. So I do think Witches are going to beat Nomads. So Nomads, even after connecting and finding a way to their share of the endgame scoring points, still look like they're going to finish last. Which in some way kind of impressive for Witches to even be this close, I have to say, after paying an insane number of points. I think they started with, 15 after the auction, and then didn't get any leech at the beginning of round 1, missed the entire leech party. Some late digs in round 1 gave them a little bit of leech, but for the most part, they missed it. Had to build their stronghold off track. I mean, they're still going to be a decent amount behind Chaos and Darklings here, but not a bad recovery to find a 3rd place from Fire X here. At least if my ballpark math is accurate. Because he's going to win network outright. All right, coming down to just the last few moves here. Super fun game. I'll start. I have to leave right when the game ends, so I'll start my wrap up now, and then we'll see the scores roll out. But really interesting one. I think even in the auction, debating a couple of the different starting spots and what the implications were. The Sanctuary Stronghold distance, as it does in many games, I think had a really, really big impact in a lot of things this game. From encouraging more econ favors, Darklings going double econ overall, to Chaos starting on G7. I think all of those, at least to some extent, were probably influenced by that distance scoring. And then we had some great mid-game tension around a couple key hexes, G6, A2. G2 we didn't really talk about, but then became a super key hex when Chaos took it. D5 even, I think, if you were playing this game as Darklings, you were probably freaked out about that the whole time, along obviously with G6. Really cool. Fruity, I assume you're winning. What's up, by the way? Good game. I haven't done the math, but I haven't done all the math, but I've been operating for the past few minutes under the assumption that your cult position is going to hold on here. Especially with Darklings not building the stronghold on A1. Yeah, so really nice game. We were just talking, or I was just talking about how even from the very beginning in the auction, we were talking about that if Chaos could start on G7 and have a neighbor there, and then you ended up getting 2. But even with 1, felt like a really nice nice position, as opposed to E2, which would have felt a little more awkward having that sanctuary right in the middle of the board. But a pretty cool Darklings game too. The Stronghold on A1 would have been a little cooler, but things were looking really good for him in the mid game. He just had a couple slow rounds there. After that nice start maybe, and then missing Earth 1. I mean, I totally understand the Fire 1 pull, and he's gonna have definitely used all these resources, but no, not at all, Fruity. Well, I mean, I'd have to go back to the chat. I don't know what maybe people had conflicting opinions, but I was of the opinion that it was a good move. And then especially once you got both F4 and G8, not having to bridge, and F4 getting you within 2 hexes of E2 and G5. Once you got E2, got the 2 key town that round and got E2, I thought you were in a really strong spot. All right, so Witches gonna pass now, I think. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, it was interesting. Nomads, they got really aggressive by taking B5, and in hindsight, I wonder if they would have preferred to use the dig that they used on B5 instead used it on E2, because if Chaos was blocked from E2, then B5 was not really under any sort of threat. I mean, obviously, I guess Darklings could always do a triple dig or Witches, but like, I doubt Nomads considered it at the time, but looking back, I wonder. You thought G7 would have been ideal if possible. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Sting. I saw that Fruity commented right before that. Thought that was him. Right. Yeah. So Chaos can't threaten E5 with B5 without E2. So, I mean, they were both when Nomads dug B5, it was a 2-ship distance from where they were. So they could have taken E2 at that point instead. Wow, Darklings. Oh, interesting. Nomads found another dwelling. I didn't even notice that. So Darklings do not get a tie for third on network. So I have to say, as Darklings, going double econ and only ending up with 13 structures in third place on network, that feels not like a great return. So yeah, now I feel like if I'm Darklings, I'm probably like, maybe should take an Earth 1. Which probably also maybe meant taking Fire 1 the round before, potentially. I guess they did use that worker in round 2, but was just a little coin tight all game, even with the Fire 1. So I don't know, maybe not, but I don't know. I just double econ to get third on network feels tough to me. So, wow, did Nomads get second? Holy, I did not do that math. Wow, that's the network swing right there. Nomads got to 15 to tie for first on network, knocking Darklings down to solo third instead of tied second. And they beat them by 8. And the network's a swing of 9. So, wow. That made the difference in the game, in that positioning. That's huge. What a comeback by Nomads. Holy moly. Very cool. Very, very cool. Finds that connection and comes all the way back. I did not see that coming. I thought he was closer to witches than he was to darklings. Holy. Well, a nice surprise at the end. All right. I do have to jump because everyone started late, but this was super fun. We will figure out who is casting next week. The Premier League is in full competition now. Fruity's got 9 points. Eric, who is on bye, has 6, and then everyone else has a handful now. So we'll keep it going. Week 3 next week. Enjoy all your live games for those of you who are playing tonight in the American leagues. Enjoy your turn-based games, and I don't know. Maybe I'm back. Maybe I'm not for more streaming. We'll see. Until then, though, we'll see y'all later. Play some Ice Mittens.